I have never been one to believe in scary stories, but what happened in our village changed everything I thought I knew. My name is Adanna, and I am going to tell you about the time Nkechi, the hair braider, almost destroyed our village. It all started when strange things began happening to the women in our community. You see, Nkechi was known for braiding the best hair. If you wanted your hair to look good, you went to her. Her hands were fast, and her braids lasted longer than anyone else's. But what no one knew was that Nkechi had a dark secret. Women who got their hair done by Nkechi began to complain of horrible nightmares. Every night, they would see strange figures chasing them. They felt something heavy pressing down on their chest, making it hard to breathe. It wasn't long before they started losing sleep. And it wasn't just the nightmares that were strange. These women began to face serious problems in their lives. None of them could get married. Some lost their jobs, others had their businesses fail. It was as if everything was falling apart for them. One day, I decided to visit Nkechi's shop to braid my hair. I had heard the stories, but I wasn't scared. After all, I had been going to her for years. When I arrived, she welcomed me with a smile, just as she always did. Her shop was small, with chairs lined up in a row and mirrors on the wall. The air smelled of hair oils and shampoo. I sat down, and Nkechi began to work on my hair. As she braided, we talked about the usual things, about the weather, the village, and the latest gossip. But something strange happened when I was about to leave. A man came into the shop. I had never seen him before, but he looked serious. Nkechi stopped what she was doing and greeted him like she knew him well. I watched as Nkechi walked to a corner of the shop, reached under a shelf, and brought out a small bottle of water. But this wasn't just any water. It was the soapy water she had used to wash my hair. She handed it to the man, and in exchange, he gave her a thick envelope that she quickly slipped into her apron. My heart pounded in my chest. What was she doing with that bottle of dirty water? I didn't want to ask questions right there, so I quickly paid Nkechi and left. But I couldn't stop thinking about what I saw. Why would someone pay for used soapy water? It didn't make sense. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind was racing with thoughts of the strange man and the bottle of water. I had to find out the truth. So, the next day, I went to see my best friend, Amaka. Amaka and I had been friends since we were little girls. If there was anyone I could trust, it was her. When I told her about what I saw at Nkechi's shop, her eyes widened. "Adanna, we need to find out what's going on," she said. Together, we made a plan. We would go back to Nkechi's shop, pretend to be getting our hair done, and watch closely to see if the man or anyone else came back for more of the soapy water. A few days later, we returned to Nkechi's shop. This time, Amaka came with me, saying she wanted her hair done too. We sat in the shop for hours, pretending to enjoy the conversation, but really, we were watching everything that happened. Just when we thought nothing strange would happen, the same man I had seen before came back. He was wearing the same serious look on his face, and Nkechi acted like she had been expecting him. She quickly handed him another bottle of the soapy water, and just like before, he gave her an envelope filled with money. Amaka and I exchanged glances. We knew something was very wrong, but we didn't know what to do next. We couldn't just accuse Nkechi without proof. So, after the man left, we decided to confront her. "Nkechi, who was that man? And why does he keep taking the water you used to wash our hair?" I asked. For a moment, Nkechi looked surprised. Then her face twisted into an angry scowl. "Mind your business, Adanna. If you know what's good for you, you will stop asking questions," she snapped. Amaka stood up, her fist clenched. "We know you're up to something, Nkechi. We will find out the truth," she said. Nkechi's eyes darkened, and she pointed a long finger at us. "If you don't stop, you regret it. I have powerful people on my side, and they will deal with you if you keep poking your nose where it doesn't belong. Her words sent a chill down my spine, but we weren't going to give up that easily. We left the shop, but we didn't stop investigating. We asked around the village, but no one knew who the strange man was. It seemed like he appeared out of nowhere just to collect the bottles of water. The nightmares continued for the women who had gone to Nkechi. It was as if they were cursed. And now, Amaka and I were worried we might be next, since Nkechi had threatened us. One night, as I was lying in bed, I had the strangest dream. I saw Nkechi standing in the middle of the village with a group of men dressed in dark robes. They were chanting something, and in their hands were bottles of soapy water, just like the ones I had seen Nkechi give to the man. I watched in horror as they poured the water into a large pot and began stirring it. The air around them grew thick and heavy, and I could feel something dark and evil. I woke up in a cold sweat. It was just a dream, but it felt so real. I couldn't shake the feeling that Nkechi was doing something terrible with that water. The next morning, I rushed to Amaka's house and told her about the dream. She looked worried. "Adanna, we need to tell someone. This is getting too serious," she said. We decided to go to the village chief, an old man who was known for his wisdom. When we told him everything, he listened carefully and nodded. "I have heard whispers of such things," he said. "Nkechi is using dark magic, selling the spirits of these women to ritualists in exchange for money. The water she takes from their hair holds their essence, and that is what she sells." My heart sank. This was worse than I thought. "What can we do?" I asked. The chief thought for a moment. "We must expose her. But first, we need proof." He gave us a plan. The next time Amaka or I went to Nkechi's shop, we would need to get one of those bottles and bring it to the chief. He would use his knowledge of herbs and magic to find out what exactly was in the water. A few days later, it was Amaka's turn to visit Nkechi. I waited nervously at home, praying that everything would go according to plan. When Amaka finally came back, she had the bottle in her hand. We rushed to the chief's house and handed it to him. He opened the bottle and sniffed the water. His face turned serious. "This is bad," he said. "This water has been used in rituals. The spirits of the women whose hair it came from are trapped inside." The chief told us that we had enough evidence to confront Nkechi, but it would be dangerous. "She will fight back," he warned. "But if we stand together as a village, we can defeat her." That evening, the chief called a meeting in the village square. Everyone came, including Nkechi. The chief stood in front of the crowd and told them everything about the nightmares, the strange man, and the bottle of soapy water. Nkechi tried to deny it at first, but when the chief held up the bottle and explained what was inside, the people started to believe him. One by one, the women who had been to Nkechi's shop stepped forward and told their stories. They talked about the nightmares, the bad luck, and how their lives had fallen apart after visiting her. It was clear that Nkechi had been using them for her own gain. As the crowd grew angrier, Nkechi's face twisted in fury. "You fools," she shouted. "Do you think you can stop me? I have powers greater than all of you." But the chief was ready. He held up a bundle of herbs and began to chant. The air around us grew thick with energy, and Nkechi's face twisted in pain. She tried to run, but the villagers blocked her path. With one final chant, the chief broke the spell Nkechi had placed on the women. A loud wail filled the air as the spirits trapped in the water were released. Nkechi fell to the ground, defeated. The village was free at last. The nightmares stopped, and the women who had suffered for so long were finally able to move on with their lives. As for Nkechi, she was banished from the village, never to return. I still think about what happened sometimes, and I wonder how close we came to losing everything. But I am grateful that we found the truth and stood up to the evil that had been hiding in plain sight.